once again, time for another episode of CRM Radio Today. Bringing you all the latest and greatest in the ever-changing CRM space with the man who continues to roll with the punches, continues to change and be a thought leader in the field, and also happens to be the biggest fan I've ever met for the Beatles in my life there. Paul Peterson. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Yeah, my family is into me. They said, "Where's Dad?" He's up front watching some Beatles thing. Oh, boy.
Some of us have to, assume we have to remember that not the whole world. Susan, your next guest, is so young she doesn't even know who the Beatles were.
Oh, shut up.
She doesn't know. She's young.
It's interesting to me culturally. How does Beatles music sound? And my son asked me once. He said, "Is Ringo Starr a good drummer?"
Yeah.
And I played the first one where he was replaced by Andy White. I played the only drum solo he did, which was on Abbey Road. I showed him some examples of drum fills and all that. So about 20 minutes later, I said, "So, what do you think?" And he said, "Yes or no would have been fine."
Simple as better. Well, you're with somebody who's not going to give you a simple answer. Susan's going to give you the full complex analysis here today. I know that.
Susan, welcome. Today we're doing something a little different. We're kind of getting some of the folks to step out from behind the curtain, as it were, who help Paul and OC Talk Radio and help Goldmine in the promotion. So welcome, Susan.
Well, welcome. And let's set the record straight. My brother had a yellow submarine drawn on his wall.
Oh.
I was raised with the Beatles. So,
all right, you're cool. You're part of the club.
Even my kids
They're part of the club. By the way, I do acknowledge that there are other bands. I just happened to make a little bit more research on some of them, but I was going through some 80s music, just pure joy. Synths and pop hooks and things like that, just pure joy. But anyway,
definitely.
Susan,
Mode started my day.
We use you you help us with our social media platform, and these days, Jim Obermeyer mentioned, Paul, you seem to revert back to social media, and we're still talking about it. So with all of this activity and time passed, we're still talking about social media a little bit. So today I thought we'd maybe recalibrate a little bit based on what you've done for us. So there were sort of two overriding questions, and that is, we all have a social media strategy, right? Now, how active you are and what you do is, so it's degrees, right? But even if you don't participate, that is in effect a strategy, right?
Correct.
So I guess the overriding question is, how important is it to have a more active strategy? And if you have one, how do you what's the goal? What's the overriding goal that defines success, or that says, that's working for us?
I think what's happened over the last 15 years or so, social media, when it came on board, it wasn't to replace human contact. It was to enhance it. And as we've all become sophisticated and our programmers can design things to automate more things, it's changed its role and it's become more of a replacement. And so people get complacent and lazy and just rely on data populating their CRMs, populating their lead strategies and tools and things, rather than remembering it's still about people with people. I think that is the biggest mistake, lazy, stupid mistake people make, is to rely on social media and algorithms and the data to just take care of it all and never having to engage with real people. It just ticks me off.
Well, and engagement can be a response, right? I think a lot of social media, and we're probably a little bit guilty of this, is, we pump things out.
Right.
But don't necessarily seek that, a closed loop.
Exactly. We barf it out all over the place. We just shove it everywhere we can, formatted to fit this venue, formatted to fit that venue, in a response to somebody that said this to us. But when I look at the value of a CRM and how, Goldmine's been around forever, and because it works and it isn't overly complicated, the thing that it was so helpful in there in some of the earlier CRMs was the fact you could take real notes and say, oh, yeah, and remember we talked about this and we talked about that, and don't forget to remember this. That's what I loved about it, were those real discussion triggers, so I could set up other things to remind me, remember their birthday is here, remember their kid had this wonderful thing they just did, remember their achievement, or it's their work anniversary, those types of things, but it came from conversation.
Mm-hmm. one of the recommendations I make for any CRM is to be able to quickly see when was the last time we heard from this person. Was
yes.
it yesterday? Was it 6 weeks ago? And what were they doing? Were they interacting with customer support? Were they checking out something on the website? And today you can even bring in page views and traffic. Did they buy something a few months ago and you haven't talked to them, right? So it points out a sort of a jumping off point to build that, I call it rapport, right, with a client. But you raise an interesting question, and that is, a few years ago there was this like hyperwave of all CRMs had to have some sort of social media component. And yet, some of the people that are on social media viewing your posts or whatnot aren't necessarily in your CRM system. And social media can exist apart from the software, right? But you still have to have a strategy.
You still do. Social enables us to have that unique opportunity to where we can dip a toe in and kind of get to know somebody better before we even realize, yes, this is a good match for us to continue and try and put together business with them. Maybe they're an advocate, or back off. They are a loon. I just want to back off, because if I'm talking to them, people are going to think I'm a loon too. And so you get that unique ability with social in the different venues, even cross-checking them, for bigger prospects, right, for bigger projects and things. And I'm not just talking about, you're going to buy my one little widget that I have. I mean somebody that wants to do an enterprise system. I want to know if I want to make a relationship with them. And social allows us to do that. And you're absolutely right. We don't get that automatically in our CRM through the data. We have to go look, and then we add that information in.
LinkedIn these days is promoting the use of their dashboard to say, hey, when you get a lead from somebody, research them in LinkedIn, see who else they know, see who else in their company is there, is kind of to augment that before you call. I've always recommended that salespeople should have a good LinkedIn page. I recommend LinkedIn because it's more business oriented, but they should have a good page because that's a great way for somebody to see your resume or your credentials before you start talking to them. Right?
And they can see who else you support and when you spout off and your views on things. I like to look at, what are they reading? Who are they following? What are they saying in response to these things that I believe in or don't believe in or don't agree with? And for me, it's very helpful because I can come to the conversation from a more maybe respectful and refined approach. And splattering them with things.
Do you think every business should have one regardless of size?
Should have what, a CRM of some type?
Social media strategy.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yes, and guidelines, because a lot of times people bring on team members that have no clue. They are so socially inept because they're used to just doing their one little thing, and they're used to Facebook. And, Facebook is probably my least favorite social media venue. LinkedIn is my favorite because I learn things there. I get inspired there. I'm lifted up. I get ideas. I find people to connect with each other. I love LinkedIn. But I think everybody needs a strategy and some help polishing up their profiles. What should you guys include? Hey, this is a great time to go add this. We just added this to our social, to our own site and company. How about you guys go talk about it? And making suggestions. Sometimes they don't even know what to do, so all they do is pop in, look at a few notifications, and pop back out and say, I was on it. I was there. Well, what'd you do? Did you talk about somebody? Did you talk about a customer and something great they did? Or did you just say something about you?
You can also use it, right, at our company, Avanti, we have a strong volunteerism program. And so in addition to some of the fun things that we're doing in marketing, we've got a tour bus that's going around visiting clients and creating a little brand awareness. But we also do, our employees worldwide do some volunteerism. And so you can promote that just as an interest, and it tells a people story, right?
That. See, as soon as you say that, the first thing I say is dare other companies to try and do it too. Why not? Why not inspire everybody to do something better than themselves?
We started this out talking about music, and there was a lyric that the White Stripes used in a song where it said, "Everybody's got a story to tell, from the Queen of England to the dogs of hell." And I was just thought that that pretty much describes any business. They've got a story to tell, why they founded the company or what they strive to do, and that should be something that gets communicated through social media. Well,
I know there's companies out there like WordWrite PR. I deal with them in Pittsburgh. And their whole thing is about telling your capital S story, the story that you want to frame, that you want to create, rather than letting somebody else make up your story. You want your story to be told the way you want it told.
So what level of content and detail is appropriate? And you started to hint at Facebook, maybe not so. LinkedIn. I mean, Facebook's a good consumer-based ad vehicle, but I've never found it to be particularly helpful on a business-to-business basis. Right? People don't expect to see the ads there, so we haven't.
Not where they want to be either.
We have a presence
Playtime.
there, but we don't pay a lot of attention to it.
Right, because that's playtime. And that's what I would use for more automated type of posting and tips and things. But it's tips. I find that the people that follow my little meager page for my business, they are so passionate about following it. They say, you always give us some good advice. And it's something I can share with people in my family. You always tell us, hey, it's time to change your passwords. It's time to do this. It's time to do that. And they love those things because I'm helping. It's not just look at my stuff. Hey, look what I made. Look what I made.
And how often do you strive for a certain cadence? Like, does it matter whether it's every week or every couple of days? Do people have that, or is it better just to pop it in when it's fresh and post it then?
For me, I try and do something regularly. So once a week is plenty for me for Facebook. For LinkedIn, for my business, I don't do anything on my business page, but my own profile, I probably share 6 or 7 times a week. But I make sure that at least 4 or 5 of those are about other people. Build your advocacy network. People have connected with you for a reason. Go check their stuff out. I'm sure you can find something great to say or have a comment or reshare something they have shared, which makes you of value. And it makes you a pretty nice human. Why not do that? They're connecting with you. Be human.
It's so hard to do, though, isn't it? I mean, so often I'll hear people that agree that we should be doing this or that, but find it doesn't seem to take the priority in the day to day. So how do you shift gears to make that a priority? Is there any secret you've found other than personal interest?
But you have to make that a priority. It's just not an option. In our company, this is what we do. Here are the policies. Are you on board with this? Initial here. And it gets them to buy into it. It gets them to say yes. So I'd like you to go connect with all of our customers. Okay, fine. Now, 3 times a week, I want you to find 3 customers to brag about from what they're posting or their company is posting.
Do you seek permission from the customer to do that?
No. It's their stuff. They're posting on LinkedIn. You can post anywhere. If it's public press releases and stuff, who cares?
Gotcha. Right.
You're not saying anything negative. You're sharing their good news, and they'll notice that. It'll make them feel good, and they'll feel like they're a partner with you. Why wouldn't you let them know? We notice you, not just when you buy from us. We continue to notice you guys, and we think you're doing cool things. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
How do you know when you're successful?
Because people start to talk about
what's a measure? Is it number of likes? Is it number of links? No. What leads to success?
See, that's the problem. It's a tough thing to measure, and you can measure data and you can measure all those things, but the proof is in what people are saying about you, and you'll know. I know when I have done something well because suddenly everybody's reaching out to me on LinkedIn, or somebody's heard about a class that I taught recently for the Direct Marketing Association. I got bombarded. For me, bombarded is like 50 people. It's like, ooh. But I got bombarded with requests and compliments and things and thank yous and people quoting me on Twitter and things like that. I know I did well because I put a watch on all my stuff. Everything with my name, my company name, my topics of interest. I put watches on all of that so I know who's talking about it and who's talking about me so I can go thank them publicly.
So that just seems like the right thing to do. And we're going to take a break right now because that's the right thing to do. And then we'll come back. We're talking with Susan Finch about CRM and social media strategies for businesses of any kind. Be right back.
We know you rely on your CRM system, and it's usually a love-hate relationship. Most CRM systems, well, let's face it, they're expensive. They're hard to understand. People don't use them properly. And you're probably paying for features that you don't even want. If that's your case, then maybe it's time to simplify. It's time to get more from your CRM. Why don't you go back to the original? Trust Goldmine. We helped pioneer the industry, after all. Goldmine CRM is, well, it's simple, it's affordable, and it's proven. If all those sound appealing to you, if you're just tired of the CRM headaches that you're getting from trying to implement something that's just too complicated, too expensive, and too much for you to figure out, then why not go back to the original? Visit Goldmine today, goldmine.com. Okay, back to the two biggest Beatles fans I know here.
I happen to know that Susan's favorite record was Rubber Soul.
You know that? Okay, all right.
It's actually one of my favorites, yes.
Yeah, and that was actually John Lennon's favorite. They said that was a coming-of-age record for them. It was, and I was 16 years old when I heard it, and I thought that record was that folk rock, Dylan-infused sort of era.
Yes.
And but it was a good time. Can you be an introvert and still be social? Some people don't like to talk about themselves.
And that's different. An introvert's a different thing. An introvert's somebody that has to go sit by themselves to recharge because you get worn out being
get energy. Yeah, you get energy from by yourself as opposed from others.
Party and I'll start cleaning because I can't deal with the crowd always. So that's me. I'm a total introvert. But what
are some of the
social?
We hinted at one of them, but what are some of the mistakes that you've seen? You mentioned some things that made you, but what are some of the other missteps that people should avoid?
Well, you brought it up. Putting it off and not making it a priority. It just has to be in your task schedule. It has to be in your reminders from your CRM, from whatever it is. Put it in for those companies, a reminder that you want to make sure to talk about this company on this day and that company on that day, and do it. Don't just fluff it off, close out the alert and say, not today. That's the problem. It's too easy to click and not do something. It's too easy to go down a rabbit hole and to never get to what matters. Think of those opportunities we get just on LinkedIn. So-and-so is celebrating a work anniversary today. Tell them congratulations. Well, okay, fine. Click and do it if you want. But why not take the time? What were your highlights from the year? What'd you learn? Share it with me. Talk to them and tell, more than just the automated happy birthday, happy anniversary. It's taking the time for people. We have gotten so self-absorbed busy. I'm so busy. If I have one more person tell me that in a week, oh, I'm sorry I didn't call you. I've been so busy. Shut up. It's a human. We're friends. We are colleagues. We are associates. You matter to me. It's okay that you didn't call me, but don't use that excuse. You probably have plenty of time to play Candy Crush. So why not really get back to making people humans and their work lives, their successes, your priority?
That might be a good place for a CRM. Just put a tickler to remind yourself to check and post. I think people have a hard time knowing that is something worth important enough to post, when in some ways maybe just small bits and pieces. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, let's go through some of the channels that you think are good for business, or not. So we mentioned Facebook, which is kind of where you play there. So probably not where you need to spend a lot of time. LinkedIn.
B2C, yes, because that's what you're talking about. Real estate agents, yes. Those types of things, yes. Restaurants, service businesses, that type of thing, yes. But for what you do, for most of us to do that hang out here together on this radio station, no, LinkedIn.
What about Twitter?
See, Twitter doesn't get used properly. There's so many ways to use Twitter more effectively than to just check your stream. Following certain hashtags, like good hashtags. Check out what the hashtags are leading to, especially before you start using them, because it might not be good. But you want to check those out and jump in and meet new people. Share what they're talking about. Comment. Ask them a question.
Is Twitter a good place for example, Goldmine, if we have a software update or a new release available? Now our followers are following us not because we're entertainment stars. They're following us because they have some interest in Goldmine. So is that an appropriate use of a Twitter account to notify people something new regarding the product they use or and how they use it?
Yes, but it's crafting those messages so you reach new audience. What are the people that have CRM as the solution to a pain point? What are they talking about? And that's who you want to engage with. That's who you want to try and reach every time. You want to find the people that don't know you yet, too.
Right.
And be able to tell them in little bites, give me a sentence of what this is going to solve. What else? What else? And just spread those out. Videos do well on Twitter. Very short videos with the same kind of thing where you have the text going across it, because not everybody can have the sound on. I rarely have the sound on my phone, but I can read really fast. So even somebody speaking quickly, I can read it. Most of us can read 150, 200 words a minute. So we can put a lot of message in there.
Some of the things I've enjoyed the most are a straight ahead screenshot of somebody I know, just talking about what they just did or where they were, or hey, we're about to hit the trade show. Just a very short, I'll call it self video, but they don't have to be. I mean, they should be good quality, but they don't have to be super produced in any way, shape, or form, do they?
No, it doesn't. And you can pepper it with, sure, let's have a day that we make 15 tips that we're going to, trickle out over the next 2 months. Okay, fine. But then let's be spontaneous. We're going to these places, or I'm having lunch with a client, and this restaurant is amazing. People are still working with people. They love to see that part, especially if it's in their hometown. Or you mention a restaurant they've been to before, or they've wanted to try. It's those little connection points. It's like you with the Beatles. It opens conversations or it closes the conversation.
Right.
But everybody always has an opinion. So it always gives you some type of conversation and allows you to steer it some other direction if you need to.
If presented the right way, there's always a you don't want to get too biased. So for example, you watch opinion bits yourself, but one of the questions I wanted to ask about social media, and it happens for all businesses, that let's say you get a post that's negative. What do you think is an appropriate way to respond to somebody who's registered either? You mean a
review, or they just talk about you? Where is it at?
It could be LinkedIn, it could be Facebook, it could be, I mean, if you have wherever you are, if they posted a review, right. or some negative comment on your LinkedIn or whatnot, what's a proper way to respond?
Well, every single review, positive or negative, needs to be responded to within an hour or faster. Every one of them, unless it's the middle of the night, outside of business hours, but immediately and publicly and graciously, negative or positive.
Mm-hmm.
If it is negative, immediately, publicly, you want to state, we are so sorry you have had this issue. I would love to help you solve that problem or get more information from you to understand so we can improve. Let me contact you directly. And so from there, you've taken action. You've acknowledged. You haven't said you're wrong. You've said, I feel for you. I'm hearing you, and I want to hear more. Tell me more about the pain I caused you. It diffuses them immediately and shows that you were responsive to the world. And from there, if it's like on a review site, you're going to have to get a lot more positive ones to overcome that one. Because if you have one negative and 20 positives, people are going to be okay. Somebody had a bad day. Somebody didn't understand. Somebody didn't get the right product that they thought they needed.
I watched a owner of a restaurant that we've gone to, and a customer claimed a bad service, and the owner took to rebutting every claim of the customer. Now, the customer was pretty, I'll say, belligerent in terms of social media terms, but they carried this on open, and I thought that was pretty detrimental as opposed to trying to shut it off, right? It like fueled it.
I actually had to let a client go for that reason, because they would not stay off of blasting people that said something negative about their service as a plumbing company. And they were swearing and different things, and so the person would go post it on all the review sites. So I can't undo your damage. I can't do this anymore. You are not taking my advice. You aren't listening. You are not handling this as a professional.
And I actually, personally, have liked some of the, when people reply to a good review. Thanks, Paul, or just that they shows that they're listening. So, and I got Paul, the other Paul, saying it's time for us to go. So, Susan, we had a nice little chat here, philosophic. Where can people contact you, Susan?
Susan at SusanFinch.com. Not too hard to find me. SusanFinch.com on LinkedIn.
Right there on LinkedIn as well.
Finch.
So thanks a lot. And it's now freezing, so it's barely surf up. But Paul, thanks.
You've been listening to another episode of CRM Radio Today, right here in the Funnel Radio Network for at-work listeners like you.